As you may have heard, this meeting is being recorded. Very good evening and welcome to everybody. Thanks for all joining. We're very honored to have with us tonight Rabbi Pewzner. As you see, he is Khabad of Cayman Islands. What in the world? So let's get started. First of all, Rabbi, thank you so much for taking some time to join us. We really
My pleasure.
Where are the Cayman Islands? Give us a little geography lesson here. Where are we? Where are you?
Well, firstly, it's a pleasure to be with you virtually this evening. It's great to connect again with Rabbi Epstein. I spent a year in the yeshiva in Chicago and had a wonderful time at the Mesivta in West Rogers Park. So I fondly remember Rabbi Epstein's trivia games at some of the gatherings. So it's great to be here with you this evening. So the Cayman Islands are located about 150, 200 miles south of Cuba. So if the way the crow flies from Miami, we're about 2 hours south. Sorry, an hour and 15 minutes south on a flight, just due south from Florida. So we're in the Western Caribbean. It's a British overseas territory. It used to be part of Jamaica. When Jamaica went independent, the Cayman Islands, a small group of islands, requested to remain under the crown, the British crown. So we are a British overseas territory. The British maintain control over foreign and political affairs, and the local government takes care of setting local policy. So,
how long has Khabad been in the Cayman Islands?
That's a good question. So,
thank you.
I would say that, like everywhere around the world, the Rebbe cared for every single Jew, around the world. I believe 2 weeks ago you had Rabbi Raskin, my neighbor, over from Jamaica, and he'll told the story about the rabbis that the Rebbe sent already in the 50s to the Jews of the Caribbean, and the great care that the Rebbe had. So the first Jews in the Cayman Islands were originally Jamaican Jews who have been in the region for centuries. But in recent years, the Cayman Islands has undergone a tremendous amount of growth and prosperity, and that obviously attracted a lot of Jews from around the world. And they found themselves looking at each other, hey, it's time for a Jewish holiday, what should we do? They gathered together in their homes and they did the best they could. And we have this program in Khabad called the Roving Rabbis, or Merkish rabbis that go around in the summer to visit micro Jewish communities, emerging Jewish communities. And they did the first bar mitzvah about 12, 13 years ago. And people loved it. And I got there. I wasn't married. I was a single rabbi, and I came there 10 years ago for the Shavuot holiday. And there was just this, this great understanding that if you want to develop Jewish life around the world, got to reach out to Chabad. So it's been an exciting journey, really accelerated journey over the past 10 years. Getting Chabad started. My wife and I moved to the island permanently about 7.5, 8 years ago. So it's been, when we arrived on ground, we had to get started quickly, building up the Jewish infrastructure. And pretty much, we were, starting because there had not been historic Jewish presence in the Cayman Islands. Everything is fresh. It's a decade old, so we get to learn from everyone's successes and mistakes around the world and try to build something that's unique and special and serves the 500-600 Jews that call Cayman home.
So 500-600 Jews who live there. The people live there, they're retired, they have businesses. I mean, what prompts somebody besides the beautiful weather to pick up and move to the Cayman Islands? Is everyone there a tourist? Is everyone there on vacation? What is the tone of the Jewish community in the Cayman Islands?
So I would say it's a microcosm of the Jewish, the Jewish world around the globe. We have young and old, very traditional Jews and those that come from more secular backgrounds, from all nationalities, backgrounds from around the world. And I would say the bulk of our community members are young families in their 30s and 40s that are attracted to the island for white-collar jobs in accounting, legal and corporate services. We're a leading offshore financial center. We have more cryptocurrency and Bitcoin companies registered than anywhere else around the world. Just a fun fact, the second biggest investor in the state of Israel after the United States is the Cayman Islands. Of course, it's not the Cayman Islands, it's all the different companies that are established in the Cayman Islands for its rigorous and transparent legal services. So that really is what is the fuel of the economy. We do not have any income tax or property tax. That's, that attracts some people that have different arrangements. We do have a sales tax, which the cost of living is very, very high. So it's a place that it's not for everyone, but those that are able to make it really enjoy their time there. And of course, we have some people that come to retire. Some people come for have a second home. They'll spend the winter with us, and then they'll go off to their homes somewhere else. We even have some residents of Chicago that spend the winter months with us.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, meaning you grow up in the world of Lubavitch, you're inspired by the Rebbe's message, you come to Masifta. I don't know if your wife grew up in a similar environment. How did you decide to make the Cayman Islands where you were going to fulfill the Rebbe's mission to prepare the entire world for Mashiach? What prompted you, what attracted you, and said, this is where my neshama needs to be to prepare the world for Mashiach? It needs to be in the Cayman Islands.
So it's a question we all have to ask ourselves every day. Who are we and what we're doing? What's our purpose in this world? And from a young age, growing up, my parents are Shlokim in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. My wife's parents are Shlokim in San Antonio, Texas. Our grandparents were Shlokim. My great grandparents were Shlokim back in former Soviet Union. So this is it's a family, I guess, tradition of commitment and service to the Jewish people. And it's I guess the greatest honor to be able to make a difference in people's lives. So from a young age, we knew that we were going to go on shluchas, and I spent quite a bit of time visiting different communities around the world, and Cayman Islands and Iceland and Russia, the various places around the world. And it wasn't a question of if we were going to go on shluchas. The question was where. So when we got married, we didn't buy any furniture because we knew that we would be moving and leaving Crown Heights, Brooklyn very soon. So we didn't buy much. And we were just married a couple months, and we got a call asking us to there's a need, there's immediate need, and Rabbi Zarchi, who's the director of Chabad in the Caribbean, based out of Puerto Rico, just reached out to us and asked us if we'd be willing to take on this opportunity, and we were very honored and humbled, and it was love at first sight. We have a wonderful community, delightful individuals with deep friendships, and it's been a wonderful experience, to serve in the Cayman Islands.
So everyone hears you're in the Cayman Islands. We assume everybody there, it's the beautiful beaches and the sun, and that must be a lot of fun. But in real life, day to day, what language do they speak in the Cayman Islands? What happens when a baby's born? Who's the moil? Where do you get kosher food? Where do kids go to school? Where do you get a yarmulke if your yarmulke blows out the window in the car? It's
a challenge. It's a challenge, and especially that there is no historic Jewish infrastructure, so we had to start everything pretty much from scratch. So we through the generosity of some members of the community, we were able to get some land and set up the first Jewish cemetery. And about 4 years ago, we were fortunate to open up a Jewish community center, and my wife directs the Rebbetzin Rickel. She directs a school, an after school, which is very popular. We have dozens of children attending programs on a weekly basis, participating, learning about their heritage, and it's a full on, it's constantly I wouldn't say a struggle, but it's a big responsibility to make sure that we need everything. And you mentioned the island; it does have some restrictions. To get a lulav and esrog in the island, we have rigorous import regulations to make sure no diseases come in. So to get a lulav and esrog for the holiday of Sukkot is always a very big challenge to get it that it should be fresh, and to get it that it should come, with the proper permits. Unfortunately, we can talk a little bit about with how things have changed over the last year and a half due to the pandemic. We're very fortunate that we were able to close the island quick enough in March of 2020, and we went into a short lockdown, but we were able to quell any community spread. And shortly after, we were able to reopen domestically, internally. So the economy and everyone has been completely open for over a year, no community spread. But our borders to the rest of the world have, for all practical purposes, been shut. So I think we were one of the only communities in the Western Hemisphere that was able to hold high holiday services last year without any masks or social distancing, with no concern for COVID, because there just wasn't any COVID. And there still isn't any COVID in the Cayman Islands.
So you say, so let me jump in there. So you say that the island is closed. So a baby boy is born, you need a mile. I don't know. Are you a mile? Where do you get a mile from? What do you do?
That's a very big problem. We have, there's 3 Jewish baby boys have been born the past year, a couple of baby girls, but 3 baby boys were born the past year. And one of them is still waiting for a bris. It's already been quite some time. And we had to find a male that would be willing to come and quarantine for 15 days. And we found a male that was vaccinated, but you run into all sorts of problems with the Department of Health, to get a male that's a doctor. So we try to make the best out of it, but it's unfortunate reality. And this is not only in the Cayman Islands, it's also, I spoke to my colleagues in other parts of the world, in Hong Kong and other parts of the world. This is happening in other territories as well. So it is definitely a challenge. I personally missed 2 of my siblings' weddings over the past year. And that was, that's not something I imagined when taking a flight from Miami for an hour and a half, that you would, you're going to miss simchas like that. But that's part of it, in for better or for worse. This is our home, and we have to prepare and serve our community the best way possible.
So you mentioned that there really isn't any historical Jewish infrastructure in the Cayman Islands. Is there anything else besides Chabad? Is there secular Jewish, sort of social, Zionist, anything else that looks Jewish in the Cayman Islands, or just Chabad?
Like I said, it's again, I think this is an area where it's outside of the United States, the affiliation and denominations don't matter as much, and this is just something I've noticed from around the world. And we have Jews from all backgrounds and levels of affiliation, and there was a clear understanding from the start when the community was formulated about 12 years ago, that in order to build something, a thriving Jewish community on island, we had to do it all together. And by obviously establishing the standard in a way that everyone feels comfortable to participate from both halachic standpoint, that the services are held in a way that every Jew would be able to participate, and also that everyone would feel welcome and embraced and respected, regardless of their level of observance or a previous affiliation. And we have to focus on the 80% that we all have in common. And I think we've managed to come together as a community where everyone sees themselves as part of the Jewish community of the Cayman Islands. And while the Rabbi and Rebbetzin might personally be from Chabad, but we do not require that our participants identify with any denomination. So I think it's a model for post-denominational Judaism that's emerging, around the world, where everyone feels welcomed and has the ability to participate in authentic, joyful Jewish experiences. And we have some events that are more cultural, and we have some events that are more religious. And it's a smorgasbord. You can come participate in things you like. Some people like to come and daven every day. Beautiful. Those that will participate, maybe if we do a Yiddish class or a babka bake, or I don't know if you guys like shtisel. If you guys like shtisel, you could raise your hand. Okay, so we did a shtisel viewing a couple weeks ago. So we tried to incorporate something for everyone. And obviously there's going to be differences of opinion, and we, through open and honest communication, heart-to-heart conversations, we've been able to, thank God, thus far overcome every single challenge that has come our way. Hashem should give us the strength to be able to continue to do so.
You've talked about
our
some
hope.
of the real hard challenges. Give us what are some of the joys of being Chabad of Cayman Islands? What are some of the things that really give you, a pep in your step?
Well, it's just, I would imagine it's similar for many other, members of the Jewish community. Whenever you have an opportunity to make a difference in someone else's life, it's really it's a very profound experience. But when we got to the island, the people assumed there was only a handful of Jews, and what's really been remarkable is to see people literally come out of the woodwork and say, "Hey, my great-grandmother was Jewish," and they're, "Oh, which side?" And then you help people discover and embrace their Jewish identity, and that's something that just brings so much joy, both to see the people come back to their roots, and personally, it's just unbelievable. We had a woman, the borders are locked, and you think everyone, and then Yom Kippur this year, a woman came to services. She's in her, I would say, mid-70s, grew up Jewish in Brooklyn. And sadly, her father wasn't Jewish and had her baptized when she was 16 years old against her will. And sadly, she was ostracized from Jewish life for many decades. And over the past year, because of COVID, she decided maybe she should give Judaism another chance. And she came to services Yom Kippur, and she loved it so much. And she's been participating in services every single Shabbos. And just to see something like that, where if you would look in the phone book, you would never guess that she's a member of the tribe, and how we've been able to help her re-embrace her heritage. That's really something very, very special. That brings joy every time. And of course, there's the unique island experiences. Lighting a menorah on the most beautiful beaches of the world, going fishing and catching tuna, and being able to have a minyan on the boat. Various different unique aspects of Jewish life, and Baruch Hashem, all our children were all born on the island, and they see themselves as Caymanian, and they're Hasidic island children. So that's something very unique, and they understand their peers and the local culture even better than we do.
So that must be difficult. Your children are there. I mean, are there any other kids for them to play with?
Yeah, Baruch Hashem, we have we're very blessed that it's a young community, and they have many friends, and that they've been able to, join together in the Jewish programs, after school programs, and on Shabbos there's always a very big, boisterous group of children at shul playing together. So
and what do they do for school, your kids? I mean, you don't have a Masifta in the Cayman Islands yet, do you?
So it's a good. I mean, our children are young. We started a preschool and a after school for children of all ages. So that takes care of the afternoon. We also, I'm sure it's been mentioned in previous Zooms, but there's a wonderful institution called the Shlokam Online School, which is an online school that my daughter, is able to sit down in the morning with her friends from Morocco and Venezuela and from all over the world, and they study, and they have beautiful friendships. And then for extracurricular activities and various different programs they attend, whether it's gymnastics or if they want to, if various different programs, we also take advantage of some of the good schools on island to participate in things that we feel are important for our children's emotional and social development. So they have a very full packed, well-rounded day, and it's something that we have to really think and evaluate. If you live in a big city and you can just send your child to the institution from morning till night, sometimes you can kind of forget about it and say, I'm paying the tuition, let the school do its work. But we're forced to take a very hands-on, involved approach in our children's chinuch education, and that's a blessing.
Okay, Rabbi, can you give us one last story? Just one story. Give us something that maybe sums up, maybe captures what makes Chabad and Cayman Islands so very, very special?
Sure, I'd love to do that. I love to hear from some of the other participants going on this monologue. So if there's an opportunity for input or any questions from the audience,
Sure, just jump right in. Anybody who wants, just unmute yourself and jump right in. Okay, you tell the story. They'll get there thinking a little.
Again, I mean, the stories are, what's a daily occurrence is sometimes it's hard to think of a unique story, but what really is important in our work is to remember that every single individual is an entire world, like the Rambam says, and you really see that in a small Jewish community. Every person's participation matters and is important. And when we're seeking to engage with others, we have to make sure that they feel comfortable and welcomed in every single aspect. So there's so many stories that come to mind that illustrate this notion that we have to create the welcoming space and people come when they're ready. But every time, I would say that it's literally without fail that every single day that when I come into the Chabad house, I don't know what's going to happen that day. Every single day, someone else will walk in with a question, sometimes Jew or Gentile, and they have something that they're seeking, something that they're looking for. So the story is ongoing. It's every single day something incredible happens. Someone coming in and wants to study more about their heritage, or they're looking for kosher food, or wants to learn more about their heritage. And just our presence in a place that didn't have an established Jewish community, by just having a sign up on top of the street, Chabad Cayman Jewish Community Center, that story, that miracle, because it's difficult. It's difficult to build. It's difficult to sustain, and to find the partners to cover that work. But just the everyday interactions that we're blessed to have are so meaningful and special that make it all worthwhile. So I'm sorry, it's not a specific story.
It's a beautiful story.
It's the story of our people. We have to be proud as Jews, and when people, when others see us proud of who we are, it transforms their thinking. So there were many people that were concerned about what an active Jewish presence would be in a very observant, conservative Christian island. And just a couple of weeks ago, there was a new parliament, and there was a prayer breakfast, and I was invited to give the prayer for the nation. And I think that really put everyone's concerns about how Jews would be welcomed to rest, that the government welcomes and embraces active Jewish presence, a proud open Jewish presence in their midst. So I think it's the miracle of just being proud of who we are, being consistent, respectful, and polite, and we'll go very far, I guess.
Okay, appreciate that. So they're not experiencing anything anti-Semitic. And you'd be welcome.
There's tremendous love and respect for the Jewish people, and especially for Israel. And people will stop me in the supermarket and say, "Are you Jewish? You're God's chosen people."
Yeah, wait, you say that's our line. Our line is, "Are you Jewish?"
Yeah.
They ask you if you put on tefillin.
People. It's for many people. I'm the first. I guess identifiable Jew that they've met, and I always point out to them, I might have the kippah and the beard, and I, because that's I kind of stick out, but many of your other people on this island are also Jewish. You might not realize it. So when you look at the ancestry of many of the families on the island, these were all Jewish families that were escaping persecution in Spain and Portugal and came to the New World, and they felt that they couldn't necessarily share their Jewish identity, and now some of their descendants are returning to Jewish heritage. I think it's a beautiful story, and it's still ongoing. So we're still writing this chapter of Jewish history.
Okay, we got a question.
I joined later, so I'm not sure if you already asked these questions. Where do you get kosher food?
Yeah, that's a great question. We get a lot of food in the local supermarkets. Pretty much everything is imported from United States, and just by default, most American products that are, that you would want to have a kosher symbol. So
So
you got to thank the OU.
even during COVID?
Yeah, I mean, COVID hasn't impacted the food deliveries. It only has impacted the movement of persons. So, and we also have, there's great kosher suppliers in South Florida, Miami area, that can ship kosher meat and chicken, and you whatever you want, they can ship it over. So but it just takes some time and some logistics to get all the paperwork and imports and inspections. So, and then you have to coordinate it. So now we're working on our high holiday order. I have to choose now what we're going to be ordering for the next couple of months, place the order so that it should come in a month's time. Wow. So everything, you need to plan in advance. And one of the things that we were able to thankfully impress upon the local supermarkets was that there was actually a demand for kosher. And now the supermarkets carry Sharabar kosher chicken that you might find in Chicago. They carry kosher cold cuts and deli, and assortment of fine kosher wine. So once they've been able, they brought in as a trial, and they saw that it sold out. People are buying it. They're encouraged to bring more. So obviously, when the borders were open and we had 2 million tourists coming through it a year, there was tremendous demand for kosher food, just because you had tens of thousands of Jewish visitors. But now the borders are closed. There's still a continuous demand from the local Jewish community, and Baruch Hashem, we don't lack in that regard. Sometimes you have the cute little products that you only get in the major cities, so we miss those. But Baruch Hashem, we're very fortunate that we're able to import in a fairly straightforward process.
Fantastic. And what are you guys doing for mikvah?
So we're actually building a mikvah. It's an exciting and intricate project, especially we have to bring in the experts from the United States, and it's a big project. So we're involved in that. We have the plans ready, and we're hoping for a little bit more funds to be able to start the construction of the mikvah. Until then, we're blessed to have a beautiful Caribbean Sea, and the Caribbean Sea, the temperature is the coldest it gets is 78 degrees. And it's usually in the 80s. So the water is very comfortable, and you can find a nice, quiet, private spot. Obviously, you have to consult with your halachic authority. How it's not so simple. It has to be done. There's some training and knowledge that's required. But the Rebbitzin in the Cayman Islands has helped many women go to the mikvah in the ocean, and it's 80% of the time it's a non-story, but sometimes it's wavy, and sometimes it's a little bit treacherous. So that's why it's important for us to build a mikvah, an indoor mikvah. But we're blessed in that regard as well, that we have a comfortable option for most of the year. And again, I'm ask your local Orthodox rabbi about the details of how to immerse in a mikvah, because it is quite detailed.
I have a question. I just
please.
want to give you some friendly advice. You have hurricanes down there in the Cayman Islands and all the Caribbean. So yes. My suggestion is that your safer towers are one of the most important things that you have in your Chabad house, but to have a strategy and a plan in case the winds should get up to that type of force, to be able to have a way of making sure you protect all your valuables. I just want to give you a suggestion. I don't know, it might never happen. It might happen in 10 years from now. It might happen, but just a little bit friendly advice.
Please.
That you should think about that as a secondary, as actually for your safety, for your family, but also for all the valuables that you have, especially your Torahs or so. So, just wanted, from Mr. Pine in Chicago, Illinois, that's all I want to tell you.
There you go.
Please, yeah, it's very important. We're in hurricane season now, and we constantly, inspect and reevaluate, our property. We make sure to trim the trees and, have contingency plans. The good news is that the Cayman Islands is very strict code, and everything has really been built to the highest standards. In fact, we had 2 years ago, we had a 7.7 earthquake, and nothing was, and no buildings, or there's no damage. They built everything to the highest standard. Everything, is done really well. So there's numerous very strong, well-built structures, high structures with 10 stories that were able to seek shelter during the storm. And yes, absolutely, it's important to secure the Torah. And what's also very important is to also have a good hurricane insurance plan, because it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. This does occur. Just a couple of years ago, there was some really devastating hurricanes, Maria and Irma, that devastated Eastern Caribbean and impacted our fellow, communities, sister communities over there in St. Martin and Puerto Rico and St. Thomas. So it's on all our minds, and Hashem should protect us and protect everyone in harm's way.
Amen. Rabbi Pewzner, I want to thank you so much for all the wonderful work you're doing there in the Cayman Islands.
My pleasure.
It's so inspiring to hear your stories, which are in many ways unique, and also in many ways they're the stories of every Jewish community and every Chabad Shliach who's there to provide every Jew with an opportunity to connect with his neshama and to be connected with Hashem. So thank you for spending this time with us.
My pleasure.
Generous of you. Appreciate it.
I'd like to extend a warm invitation. As soon our borders we're hopefully in a reopening process. We should be reopening the next couple of months. So when you guys need a little break from the freezing cold Chicago winds, so just hop on a plane and come down, and we'll have Torah in the tropics.
Nice. Sounds like a blast.
We'll be delighted to welcome you.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, thank you very much. Good
Take
night,
care.
everybody. We'll see you tomorrow
Stay
night
safe.
with some Parsha.
All the best.
And thanks so much for spending time. Appreciate it. Thank you. Good night. Good night.
Sei gesund.
Parsha tomorrow night.